Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this online masterclass. And I'm really happy to be this year with Beauty Expo to deliver you some safe education online. So I'm going to speak today about how I'm going to prep and contour deeper skin tones. So I'm with my beautiful model Quay, and we're actually going to shoot for editorial images. And I will invite you to follow me to see how I'm going to do the makeup on the skin and a bit of creative twist as well. I'm here with Quay. Quay, thank you so much for being with me. And we are all COVID safe, and that's okay because I like to dress up. So we are going to start doing the makeup. I already prepped her skin, and as we can see, she has a beautiful skin. And I really moisturize well the skin, use some serum and oil to really have that beautiful dewy and buttery skin effect. And that's really the texture I'm looking after when I want to prep the skin for editorial. So as we can see, she really have a beautiful texture, and that's why I'm not going to do a base with a foundation and after concealer and contour. I'm going to directly use some concealer and contour, but skip the foundation part. I do that sometime when I do editorial, because if my model got a beautiful skin, there is no need to add more texture. Also, it's harder in post-production, for example, if a model got a breakout, to Photoshop like concealer rather than just, Photoshopping a little bit of breakout. So here we go. I have prep a few shades here on my palette. And I have to say I'm super happy because I use a lot cream pigments, and with COVID, it makes it much easier to work because I can actually, have a single use and just go to grab the pigment and use them on my palette. So I have a few colors here. I'm going to use the orange tone and yellowish tone to create the highlights. And here I have a bit of deeper shade, which I'm going to show you, which is a shade I'm going to use for contour. But before I start, what I do is I'm just observing here as well. So already the skin tone of Quay. So she has a bit of blue undertone, which is absolutely beautiful. And that's why it's going to be very easy to create some shade. And I will just need to basically make them popping a bit stronger. And what I can observe is like the natural pigmentation. So in here, if I look under the eyes area and around the lips, I can see that there is a bit of pigmentation here, and also a little bit just around, like here, around the bones. So there is some part which I'm actually going to leave this pigmentation to create the contour, and some parts which I actually want to highlight to remove the pigmentation. So I'm going to start with a pure orange. I'm just going to put a little bit of oil to mix and to just make the mix a bit easier. And the whole idea today is really to have that beautiful dewy skin. And here you will see how the orange is actually going. So it's a shame because I used to love using my finger to warm up the products. Now we just have to warm a bit into the palette, but I prefer using plastic palettes because if I use a metal one, it tends to keep the pigments a bit cold. And here I'm just going under the eyes. And all the challenge is basically to don't have the products turning gray. So that's why by using an orange, I will simply remove basically all the area which could be a little bit more gray and lifting up that undertone. So I'm going to use this here. I'm going to go just around the lips area. And for the story we had actually, I had the idea to do this tutorial video today because 2 years ago with Quay, when we were doing the Beauty Expo together, I started doing this technique to prep her skin, and Quay was like, oh, this is great. So that's actually, the idea of what I had to basically show how I was prepping her skin. And I really focus only where I want to make the skin a bit more highlighted, but without having a gray shade. So that's why orange is really going to balance basically that undertone. I leave the shade, I leave the pigmentation just under the lips because having a bit of shadow here is going to push and give some volume. So that's why I don't want to remove that shadow. Just a little bit here to give a nice lift to the corner of the lips. And now I can blend. And you see I'm just using a little bit of product and really keeping that beautiful texture onto the skin. So I prefer using some dabbing movement, so it helps me to keep the product in place. Quite, do you mind to look up? So this is something I'm really looking at when I work with deeper skin tone. I always use orangey or yellowish to highlight, because the undertone could be a bit more greenish or blue, rather than in fair complexion we have more warm or cool undertone, as we know, which are yellow base or pinkish base. And we can see here how much is already had highlighted very naturally the center of the face. I'm going to do a little bit more on the top of the lips. And if I want, so Koi doesn't have any, doesn't particularly need to be more highlighted here, but with someone which will have a bit of creases here, I would really go with pure orange really into those creases to lift up. So now let's go for the contour, the actual contour. So I have a shade which is for me a universal shade. I wish I could show you a bit more on me how this shade looks like, but it's like a very deep brown, and it's like a slightly blue base undertone, and this is why it's going to recreate the actual natural shadow onto the skin. And this shade, I'm just using it a little bit, and I can use this shade for very fair complexion to deeper skin tone, because it's really going to recreate a natural shadow. So that's why I really love using this one when I do editorial work, when I do film, because film I also want the shade to look very natural. And even for like everyday makeup, I think you can see he mix a bit of this shade with, like I would say, a medium contour, and just go a bit on the top with this one. So here I really want, so Koi has beautiful cheekbones, but I'm going to pop them even more. So I'm just going to go a little bit underneath her cheekbones. And I'm also going to go a little bit on the top, because I want to really pop those cheekbones. And you will see I'm going to use something which is a bit surprising for the highlight after, but that is because we want to do a bit of creative effect today. And here I'm just going as well to accentuate slightly underneath the lips. And going to blend, always using a clean brush. So Koi, if you don't mind, if we can just turn, and I just would like to show how this shade is actually going to recreate something like, it's really like a natural shadow. It's amazing as well to use this shade when you, for example, want to lift up a double chin. It looks very natural when you actually do it. And I always use some movement lifting up a bit to really contour the cheekbones and not having a line which is too straight. Oh, I have and just a little bit under the chin as well. I still want to use my finger. Here I'm just going to add a little bit of orange. I can see just here a little bit more to lift up and give a bit more highlight. So we can definitely see how the structure is just like how we can naturally structure basically without having the need of creating a foundation underneath. So now I'm going to use for the highlight something a bit surprising. I have a strobe cream which is pink base, and this, so that's what, because we want to do something creative, I have very cool undertone for the highlight. You will see it's going to be absolutely stunning. So here is my strobe cream. Usually I will use to create highlight like more bronzy shade, But because we're going to be, as I say, a bit creative after, that's why I'm going with a strop cream, pink strop cream. And I will do a little bit on the center of the nose as well, top of the lips. And I'm going to blend. And again, dabbing movement. And it's absolutely stunning. I love using cool tone for the highlights because she has a cool undertone in some way, having more a blue undertone. That's why it looks absolutely stunning to use that pink strop cream. I can add a little bit more. And here, when I will prep my skin, it's really using like different shades of cream pigment and having all of them blending and mixing together to have a result which is very flawless in photo. Because if there is something we need to do very well for editorial work, is to have a perfect blending. That's why cream pigments are always for me the way to go to really prep well the skin. Powder can always leave a bit of texture. All right. Quite remind to just turn a bit your face so we can start seeing a bit how the products react. So here I'm going to do now, still prepping my base using a little bit of burgundy. So here you will see probably I have, like this color is actually a color which I use in special effects, like it's the blood color. You can see, but it's a color which I absolutely love doing. I love using this one as a blush. And also, even when I want to create a smoky eyes, I'm using the burgundy to create a base. And then I go on the top, I set with powder, and then I go on the top with the black. And Koi, I'm going to ask you just to close your eyes, and we're going to put a little bit in the eyelid as well, because after I'm going to use some chrome pigments. So I'm not trying to do anything like too sharp or too, it's really a random placement, like just having some halo of shade, like some halo of color in the eyelid, on the cheekbones, to just create a bit of structure. But I'm not doing any sharp lines at this stage. And now we're going to blend again, always with a clean brush. And here we can see with the strop cream I previously applied, how the color mix beautifully together. So this shade, that burgundy shade, I can even use it for everyday beauty makeup, because on Koi's skin tone it looks absolutely beautiful and natural. And Koi, do you mind to close your eyes? Awesome. And here blending again. So I have created here now quite an interesting base. I'm going to just set some areas with powder, but not the entire face, because we can see how beautiful is that dewiness. When we're going to shoot later on, I'm even going to add more oil, you know, on the collarbones. That's always something we need to do, like the ears, the collarbone, the hands, like to have the same texture, all the skin part which is actually shown on the shoot. And I will do something, I'm going to set this first with powder. So I will use 2 colors of powder. One which is, so you see it's always a bit orangey based, to don't turn into something too gray. So one which is like actually perfect for skin tone, just a bit deeper. And I'm going to use a pink. So the pink is going to be perfect because it's going to contract a bit the blue undertone, but it's not going to turn gray when I want to set some color makeup. So here, just looking for my powder brush. Oh. And I will just set under the eyes, so a little bit on the chin, a little bit under the eyes. I want to leave the cheekbone as they are. And I'm not using any, for photo, I'm not using any white HD powder because they can flash back, of course. So even if for an everyday makeup, they can be universal. Here, that wouldn't be my choice. Here. And now to set the eyes area, I'm going to use a pink powder, which I can show you. It's actually pink like this. So I'm going to set the eyes with it. Can you close your eyes? So here I just make sure that there is no creases before I set, because I always set cream pigment on the eyes. Same here. Great. I can even set, like if I would like to, pink powder will also work as an all over, but because it doesn't turn grey, but here I like to have something which is a bit closer to her skin tone. So my next step, and that's the tips I would like to show, is I'm going to use a liquid lipstick, which is bronze, and I'm going to use it as an actual eyeshadow. So it's going to be great because at the moment I actually prefer using some, what I like to use is like loose pigment or cream products because it's a bit easier to use as well and safe for cross-contamination. So here I just put some on my palette and you will see it's going to look absolutely beautiful on the eyes. So we need to work quick when we use this because as it's a liquid lipstick, it can dry. It's going to set and dry actually, so I have to work quick with it. Can you close your eyes? And here, I absolutely love. And you see how the color looks beautiful. Just as an eyeshadow base. And always well extending the light. So something I'm looking at as well when I do contouring, and this is for any, this in terms of structure, for any skin tone. I'm always looking at the proportion. So I do it a bit less when I do editorial because I'm more trying to catch, to create a bit of structure. So to pop up the cheekbones, because cheekbones give youth on the face. But what I'm looking at when I contour is to have some equal proportion. So I'm going to show you in a minute. It's basically the ideal face, like the ideal features. We should have equal parts from the hairline to the brow lines, brow line to the tip of the nose to the chin. And so what I always try to do when I contour for beauty is basically to put my shade and my shadow evenly to create those three equal parts. And I also use the eyebrow lines. Okay, I'm not going to create more eyebrows because after we're going to get a bit more crazy and creative, and I actually don't want to have eyebrows. The last step I'm going to do for now is I'm going to pop up a bit the highlight we did with that pink strobe base. So here I'm going to use a pigment which has a bit of pink in it, and we're just going to pop a little bit more the highlight. And this is when I start to have fun, my favorite part. So I really want to push the pigment into the brush because I really want to push the pigment onto the skin as well. And here, I will use actually another brush to really blend it into the skin. So I always like to have one brush to apply, one brush to blend. And here start to come very cool. And you can see how beautiful. So we have the contour I've done previously on the cheekbones, very natural to structure. Now with the highlight, we pop the cheekbones, and here that burgundy shade, and it's all mixing beautifully together. I will do on the top of the lips. You see just that fine line here. I will do a little bit going over on the inner corner here, over that liquid lipstick I applied. And it's going to come quite strong. Nice. And we do the other cheekbones. And it's really to layer. You see, I start with a strop cream. I never powder the cheekbones, even if I use some loose pigment on the top, because I really want to have that dewy skin, that dewy effect, and I prefer pushing really the pigment and using it pretty much as a setting powder itself. All right, Chloe, do you mind to turn a bit your face to show how those pigments are catching the light? All right, so, well, I'm going to be a bit more creative in the next steps, but I think we stop here for now. Thank you so much for, being with us and watching, and I will show you as well the result, like when we will have it in photo. Thank you very much. So here guys, we came a bit closer to show you a closer look. So I added as well a little bit of bits and pieces over there. So I did the lips with that same burgundy shade which I was using for the eyes and the cheeks. And I also added a little bit more burgundy at the top of the brow bones. So the idea here is really to pop a bit more that brow bones here. I use the burgundy basically like a second contour shade, and you can see that it's all beautifully connected. That burgundy shade, it's also a shade I love using when I do creative makeup because it gives that kind of dreamy effect. Like if you look in a few of my shoots, you can see that I use it even to contour the nose or to contour the cheekbones, whatever skin tones I'm working on. Well, thank you so much for being with us, and I really hope you have learned some tips and tricks for this session. Thank you.